Welcome to a beautiful spring day at Bruntingthorpe in Leicestershire, and this is the Zenos E10S, which is what? Well, it is a new sports car from Norfolk in the east of England. There's another manufacturer you might know from Norfolk in the east of England called Lotus. And not unlike the Elise, this is a mid-engine, two-seat roadster. What I've got is like an aluminium backbone through the middle here, but the rest of the top is made of recycled carbon fibre, a material which is a tenth of the price of real carbon fibre, but 70% of the stiffness, so it's a pretty nice thing to make a low-volume sports car from. Elsewhere mechanically, what you might be able to hear fizzing and whizzing and banging behind me is a Ford 2-litre EcoBoost turbocharged motor. Here it makes 250 horsepower. There's also a 200 brake version, which is £5 cheaper. Either way, the Zenos is pretty good value. It's 30 grand, just under 30 grand in this S form, plus some sort of on-the-road costs of 500-600 quid. There is a market for a car like this, unlike some of the ridiculous several hundred grand supercars that people come up with in their head and realise they're the only people who want to buy one. And Zenos are coming at it with a very sensible approach. They knew the price they wanted to build the car to, because they thought that's where buyers are. And Zenos has taken, as a result, quite a lot of orders. What's it like? Well, it's pretty simple inside. It runs a standard Ford 6-speed box. It's not a bad shift, apart from being slightly higher and longer throw. Driving position is good. Pedal layout is strong. Brake pedal's really firm, which I like actually. It means you can really easily heel and toe on downshifts on the circuit. Feel that engine whizzing and popping. But throttle response isn't too laggy actually. It's fine. Yes, it is obviously turbocharged. Steering is really terrific when you put some more load through the tyres. If you just trail it in on the brakes. Yeah, beautiful, really nice, predictable, just what you'd expect. Trail it in on the brakes, get back on the power, and you can push through, quell that understeer, and it becomes slightly neutral, tiny bit of oversteer, which you can just very naturally, very easily correct. This car's got an open differential, which is very familiar if you're familiar with the way Lotus does things. But a limited slip diff is optional. On a relatively fast circuit like this, the gains are probably marginal, because this isn't threatening to spin up an inside tyre anywhere anyway. You could fit the track spec dampers, as the guys from Zenos just have, in literally 20-25 minutes, and it becomes a bit more of a serious track weapon. We've done some work on the road already, and the Zenos has a nice feel to it. There's slightly more weight over the back than the front, about 60-40 rear front bias on the weight. Body control is tight without there being horrible harshness and firmness and kickback. Feels not unlike, in some ways, a Lotus Elise, and I mean that as a compliment. It's a really appealing road car. But there are other cars in this market, and one of them is driving around the circuit at the same time as us. That's a Caterham 7. So what we'll do, jump in the 7, and I'll tell you what that's like. Okay, this is a Caterham 7 360. A 360 refers to the power to weight ratio. Because the 7 is much lighter than the Zenos, it weighs 550 kilos. What I can tell you is we've got a 180 horsepower engine in here. It's a Ford 2-litre again, but here it's naturally aspirated, which means you have to work it quite hard, but it's got a beautiful sweet MX-5 5-speed gearbox, so it's very, very rewarding to push through to the red line. So what's the rest of the 7 like? Well, for a start, I can say it's very windy. You can probably see this old 50s style windscreen, so it's much draftier. The wind really whips around, gets in your face, and it's so snug in here, which is a result of the fact this car was designed so long ago. It was designed as a race car, and it's really narrow, really compact, really short, and actually that makes it incredibly agile. It is so immediate. I've got to say, there probably is no more immediate sports car than this. And even though it's about 70 horsepower down on the Zenos, if you're prepared to work that engine, I reckon they're about the same speed. It steers absolutely beautifully. It's so, oh god, it is so immediate, so connected. Steers more quickly than the Zenos, but there is, as a result of its slightly harsher suspension, and when it out on the road, We tried them both, and there is more kickback. It is a harder, firmer ride in here. The wheel does buck about more in your hand, but on a circuit, that makes it utterly sensational. There's very, very little to touch the 7 as a sports car. The Zenos makes a compelling case for itself because it's easier to get into. It's more compliant on the road, and it's still extremely enjoyable in many ways. But this is one of those tests where there's no losers really. I would have a 7, but I suspect if I had both of them, I'd end up driving the Zenos more day to day than I would the Caterham. It's just one of those times where there is no bad car, there is no loser. Either of these is a sensational car, and I think you'll love it.